Hey, it's John McCabe. Welcome to the show. Hey, welcome to the John A. McCabe Show, where it's all about accelerating your authority in your business or field of expertise. And we do that by helping entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed on any device, anywhere, anytime, with as little as 15 hours worth of effort. Also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now, on today's show, Real Estate Investing Monday, my guest is someone I've been following since I've gotten into real estate back in 2009. Now, one thing I've always done when I enter a marketplace is know who all the players are, even if they don't know me. I like to keep up to date, study, and know who people are, what they're doing, and what's making them successful. Now, Dave Dubeau is one of those guys I've always kept my eye on and followed his journey. From his early days running the marketing for Fast Track to educating investors on various strategies and all the marketing he's done over the years. Now, funny story, one day I was meeting with my business and marketing coach, Ed Rush, down in San Diego, and he actually asked me if I knew who Dave Dubeau was. It really caught me off guard that they actually knew each other, but apparently they both belonged to Dan Kennedy's Inner Circle mastermind at the same time. Now that explains Dave's marketing abilities, because he learned from one of the best in Dan Kennedy. Now, two very important components to being successful in real estate investing are, first, you need to have a good grasp of all the core competencies of investing. Not just one strategy, but understanding many strategies. Now, the second, you must be able to clearly communicate what it is you want and what you're looking for if you want to attract an abundance of opportunities. Now, Dave understands a variety of strategies and is one of the best when it comes to communicating what it is he wants and what he's looking for, while at the same time repelling what he doesn't want so he doesn't waste his time or anyone else's. And that comes from years of studying in the field of marketing, which is really more about the psychology of people than anything else. Now, understanding what people want, what they're looking for, and what they need is important when you want to clearly and effectively communicate to them and have a solution that's going to help them out. And Dave does that very well. Now, Dave Dubeau is a Canadian real estate entrepreneur, best-selling author, and educator. After living overseas for 14 years, Dave and his family moved back to Canada in 2003. His first real estate claim to fame was doing 18 creative deals in 18 months. He then became well known as one of Canada's leading experts in rent-to-own. But more recently, he's been focusing on attracting money partners and investing in multifamily properties. Now, Dave is a passionate trainer and entertaining speaker who shared his real-world strategies with thousands of people in Canada and the U.S. Now, he's the author and co-author of 6 books, including Creative Real Estate Investing for Canadians, Rent-to-Own Profits for Canadians, as well as the Amazon bestseller, The Rent-to-Own Solution for Home Ownership. Now, today I'm going to talk to Dave specifically about raising capital and attracting investors, and how he managed to raise $80,000 for one project and $2.1 million for another project without cold calling anyone. So don't go away, because when I return, I'm going to be joined by today's guest, Dave Dubeau. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Today is Real Estate Investing Monday, where I interview various real estate investors, as well as educate you on a variety of strategies that can help you achieve your financial freedom in your life. Now, one of the biggest challenges most real estate investors have is finding money to fund their real estate investments. For so many, they spend their time cold calling and pitching their deals or opportunities without really understanding what it is the investors are looking for, what's their main objections, and how best to present the offer that's going to maximize the number of yeses that they receive. Now, my guest today has all but automated the process when it comes to attracting investors, educating them, and staying in communication with them until an opportunity presents itself. Now, it's then that he broadcasts the opportunity to his network and is able to have investors calling him wanting to be part of the deal. Now, Dave Dubeau helps real estate investors and real estate entrepreneurs who want to grow their portfolios much bigger, much faster, and without having to cold call, beg, or grovel for money to do it. He does that by taking away the panic-stricken feeling of picking up the phone and asking people to invest with them. Now, he usually does this by educating them through a 2-day event that he calls the Magnetic Investor Attraction Workshop. So please give it up with likes, loves, shares, a virtual flurry of thumbs up and heart icons across the screen for my guest today, Mr. Dave Dubeau. Welcome to the show, Dave.
How you doing, John?
I'm doing excellent. Yourself?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yes, you just got back from Calgary?
No, just got back from Vancouver. I was working with
Vancouver.
a couple of clients in Vancouver, and last weekend I was in Edmonton, in your neck of the woods, and
Okay.
next weekend in Calgary. So yeah, all over the place.
All over the place. So, yeah, so you're doing your talking to people with on your 2-day workshop,
That's correct. Yeah,
Magnetic. You were just in Edmonton a couple weekends ago, and I think you're scheduled to come back, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I'll be back in Edmonton. I believe the 19th of November.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I'll definitely have to come out and see you again. But before we get going, Dave, first thing I like to do is do into the interview is do a speed round of questions. Now, I don't know if you watched the show before, but it's nothing that you actually have to study for. There's no test or anything. I'm just going to ask you 10 questions just so the viewers get to know you a little bit better. So just say whatever comes to your mind in a sentence or so. So as always, I'd like to invite everyone to play along as well. Just when I ask the question, just type in your answer into Facebook chat, and we'll review it after we go through the 10 questions. So you all set, Dave?
I'm ready.
All right, so name the book that impacted your life the most.
Okay, well, one that comes to mind is a business book. Actually, I've got it here, called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. This fantastic book if you're in any kind of business for yourself, including real estate investing.
Excellent. So when you were a young boy, who was your celebrity crush?
Farrah Fawcett.
She's quite popular on the show, actually.
Well, of people of our vintage, I imagine she is, yes.
Yeah. So what is either a book, a podcast, or a show that you're into right now?
I've been doing a lot of driving, John, so it's an audio book. So I just finished Billy Crystal's book. That was a lot of fun. And
Okay.
I'm going through Wayne Dyer.
Oh, nice.
His programs, yeah.
Excellent. So, Dave, are you currently working with any coaches?
I am not currently working with a coach.
Okay. And what's your favorite movie of all time?
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Nice. Are you currently involved in any masterminds?
No, the one I was involved in is on hold right now, but looking forward to getting back going with that again.
Okay. So name a person, either dead or alive, who you'd most like to meet and have dinner with.
Napoleon Hill.
Excellent choice. What's your favorite type of vacation? Is it between the two? Is it beach or adventure tour?
Adventure tour.
And what's the best business advice you ever received?
The money's in your list.
And last question, it's a two-parter. What is your favorite? Not what you consume on a regular basis, but what is your favorite? Water, beer, or wine? Pizza, wings, or salad?
Beer and wings, of course.
Excellent. So, Dave, just for the people on the show who might not know you, can you just fill in the blanks? Is there something I left out about your origin story or your bio there? Is there anything that you just want to fill in before we get started?
Well, I guess something that's a little bit different is I actually lived and worked overseas for 14 years.
Okay.
Ended up having a small business in San Jose, Costa Rica.
Nice.
I got married, had my kids there, and then moved back to Canada in 2003. And that's when I had to figure out what the heck I was going to do. And that's when I watched a late night infomercial one night and how to get rich quick in real estate. And there you go.
Who was pitching that one? Carlton Sheets?
No, it was actually Ron LeGrand.
Ron LeGrand. Excellent.
Ron LeGrand, yeah.
So, Dave, I've been following you ever since you got on board to help Fast Track with their marketing efforts years ago. So what did you get involved with first? Was it marketing or real estate?
Would have been marketing because, again, the business in Costa Rica was actually a language training company. And I was so far behind when I started that business, I thought I was ahead. I mean, talk about being a twit.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. Luckily, I came across some information. Guerrilla marketing was the first thing I read, and then I got involved with learning from Jay Abraham and then Dan Kennedy, and one thing led to another, and became very, very passionate about marketing. So I applied it to that business, and I took that struggling little language training company from the bottom of the pile to the top three in a very, very crowded, competitive environment of over 50 direct and indirect competitors. So that was all thanks to marketing. So definitely marketing is what came first.
So who were you marketing to? You're down in San Jose, Costa Rica. English is probably not the first language, but were you marketing to English-speaking people? How did that?
No, it was a niche company, so we provided on-site English training to corporations. So typically large companies like Intel, their branch office that they had in Costa Rica, Bayer Pharmaceuticals, Pfizer,
Okay.
All sorts of different Fortune 500 type companies that had offices in Costa Rica or factories, plants, etc. in Costa Rica, and they wanted their employees to learn how to speak English better.
And what were some of the marketing strategies you were using back then? This is obviously, you said you came back in 2003. I think I read somewhere. So this is a lot of it's pre-internet era.
It was. Well, I mean, we had websites way back then, weren't very good ones, but a lot of old school stuff that isn't so popular anymore, but still works very, very well. So direct mail, always a big one. Three-step letter campaign worked very, very well. Monthly newsletter, that worked very well as well. Different things, advertising, print advertising, but a lot of direct mail. That's always been my favorite.
Okay. I don't know if I told you this story, but during one of my sessions in San Diego with my business coach and mentor, Ed Rush, he actually asked me if I knew who you were. So come to find out, you guys were both in Dan Kennedy's Inner Circle Mastermind together. Which
we're in the Glazer Kennedy woo woo.
Which, for those who don't,
spend a hell of a lot of money to be part of this mastermind titanium group.
So for people who don't know, Dan Kennedy is one of the most famous marketers in the world, and they have a mastermind group that focuses it's on business, but primarily on marketing. So in your opinion, how big of a component is your marketing when it comes to your real estate investing business?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's the key, whether it's finding deals, finding tenant buyers, if you're doing rent-to-own deals or lease options, if you're getting investors on board, if you're finding motivated sellers, whatever it is, it's going to work a hell of a lot better if you're proactive and you market yourself.
Do you find that with a lot of real estate investors that go through a lot of the training courses that are being offered across the country, seminar companies are coming in, a lot of people are buying into the dream, but really not given the appropriate tools in order to make that happen. They'll teach them about the real estate investing, but they don't teach them about what it actually takes to attract the ideal target market, whether it be tenant buyers or homeowners, motivated homeowners, or distressed homeowners.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's the training by and large is very good. It's on the nuts and bolts of how to make an offer, or the nuts and bolts of how to manage a property, or etc. That sort of the how-to stuff is typically quite well taught. What isn't taught so well is exactly what you said, is marketing, getting out there, not just relying on a real estate agent to bring deals to you, or surfing the MLS, or cold calling people. So I don't know about you, John, but I'd rather stick a needle in my eye than cold call anybody.
Dave, I'm an introvert. There's no way I'm going to pick up a phone and call anybody.
You're an introvert, here you got your own TV show. What's going on with that?
Well, yeah, but there's nobody in the studio. I'm just looking at a camera. So, but that was the exact same way when I first started in real estate investing back in 2009. Fortunately, I had some previous experience with an internet business, and I knew about search engine optimization. I knew enough about marketing to, to place ads, to rank my website high, and to get people to contact me, because I'm sure you'll agree, Dave, it's a different dynamic when somebody's calling you for help versus you're calling and interrupting them in whatever they're doing, wanting something for them.
Oh, completely. I mean, it's the whole thing about what you're involved in, right? Which is creating that celebrity, creating that expert status. So when somebody calls me, they're looking at me as an expert. They're looking to me to help them out with whatever their problem is. If I call them, then I'm just another salesperson.
That's right. You're just sort of annoying them, and it doesn't matter how good your solution is. because you're never really going to catch them at the right time. It's very hard to catch them at the right time. So the right time is when they actually pick up the phone to call you. That's the right time for them.
Definitely. I mean, sure, obviously there are people out there that are very good at sales and who actually enjoy cold calling and can do quite well at it. And you see these kind of things on movies and TV shows and that sort of thing. It's kind of almost glorified in a way. But my experience, John, I don't know about you, but I find that the vast, vast, vast majority, and I'm talking well over 95% of people, are not in that category. They absolutely hate the idea of having to schmooze or cold call or pick up that 1,000-pound telephone and try and get something from someone.
Yeah, and when it comes to working with real estate investors as private clients of mine, I will refuse to work with them if they don't have some kind of marketing strategy in mind, or they're not interested in building a marketing strategy. If they want me to coach them on real estate investing, I tell them, what's the sense if you don't have a way to attract either motivated homeowners or investors or tenant buyers, if you're doing rent to own or whatever it is, if you don't have a strategy or some way to attract them, then you better have deep pockets.
Exactly.
So you've been involved in rent to own for quite some time now. You've even written several books on the subject, but now you're more involved in some of the larger projects. So can you tell us a little bit about your transition from doing single family to multifamily? Sort of how did that all come about?
Yeah, good question, John. So initially when I came back to Canada in 2003, I focused on doing creative, no money down or very little money required type deals. And my first claim to fame was doing 18 flips in 18 months. Sounds pretty impressive, but some of those deals weren't all that impressive. Some worked well, some didn't.
Yeah.
But got very good at marketing and attracting motivated sellers, because all of those deals I did without using a realtor, without surfing the MLS, and without making a single cold call to a property seller. So that was all getting people to call me. I took a break for a few years when I was working as the marketing guy for the Fast Track group of companies. And then in 2010, got back into creative real estate investing, single family homes, focusing exclusively on rent to own. And at that time, the client first rent to own strategy, where basically you find your tenant buyer, an ideal tenant buyer, they fit your category criteria, and you go out and you buy them a house, and then you rent to own it to them for between 2 and 4 years while you help them get qualified for financing, basically, get their ducks in a row.
Yeah.
The transition from that into multifamily, it just seems to be kind of the way things go. A lot of real estate entrepreneurs get started with single family homes, and then they little by little decide to build up, and it's just more efficient to have multiple doors or multiple rental units under one roof instead of running around all over town dealing with a tenant here, a tenant here, a tenant here, and a whole bunch of different buildings. So it's a matter of efficiencies. It's a matter of better bang for your buck, and it just seems to be the normal progression that a lot of people go through. So a good friend of mine, a colleague of mine, Ken Beaton, I've known for quite a few years, and Ken has done very, very well with multifamily properties.
Yeah.
So when I first got interested in that, I said, well, who's the best guy I can think of to learn from? And Ken came to mind, so I approached him about that, and we ended up doing a whole home study program about investing in apartment buildings because I wanted to learn about it, and then I thought, well, there might be some other people that want to learn about it as well, and there were. And then bottom line is, it's one of those things you figure out what your strengths are. My strength is not managing tenants. I've come to that realization.
I'm right there with you, Dave. I detest it.
Yeah. So I decided, you know what? I'll partner up with Ken, let him deal with all that fun stuff, and then I'll focus more on the marketing and the raising of the capital. So that's what we've done, and we've been working together for a few years now, and we've got 54 doors under our belt so far.
Excellent. Now, the investment needed for multifamily is much larger than what you originally needed to just go out and buy single family homes for your rent to own strategy. So what was the biggest obstacle that you faced when you moved from the single family home strategy to the multifamily when it came to raising the amount of money that you needed to do a deal?
I think the biggest initial obstacle was just getting my head around the fact that we wanted to be working with investors with more money.
Right.
So instead of working with small investors with $30,000, $40,000, we wanted to be working with larger investors who could invest at least $100,000 in a deal. So it was just a mind shift was the biggest challenge. They actually raising the capital, turned out not to be a problem at all.
So you just had to shift your mind, but what else changed from the way that you were marketing or trying to attract these individuals? So did anything else change? Because obviously you're focused on people with 30 to 40,000. Now you're looking for people with 100 to 200,000. So what did your message change? What changed in your delivery or your message?
Not much. I guess the delivery, what we found has worked really well is webinars.
Yeah.
So doing a version of kind of what you and I are doing here, a presentation to a small focused group, that worked very, very well. So that was something that I did that was different than what I was doing before.
Okay, so you introduced this component into your presentation, which Correct. I think a lot of businesses are moving towards the webinar or even the evergreen webinar strategy for their businesses to help them attract their ideal target markets. It's just because there's, as you know, Dave, or maybe you'll agree that there's a lot of repetition when you're meeting with people and you're saying the same thing over and over and over. So if you can duplicate that, or if you can record it and then have people just attend on a regular basis and then follow up with them later, is much more efficient than the one-on-one calls that need to take place.
Definitely, it's leverage.
Dave, I don't know if you found this during your years of studying marketing, but I discovered that the more I understand about marketing, the more I understand who it is I'm trying to attract and how I can capture, connect, and close on either more deals or investors. Now, I don't know, do you find the same thing, or do you find the process of understanding your ideal target market makes it easier the more you understand marketing?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, well, marketing, I think you said this somewhere, marketing is really, it's all about psychology, right?
Yes.
So it's understanding the human mind, it's understanding what motivates us, it's understanding what our goals and desires are, our fears are, what we're trying to accomplish in our lives, what we want to avoid in our lives. So the more that you understand that and how to communicate effectively, the more clients you're going to have, customers you're going to have, investors you're going to attract, deals you're going to do.
Yeah, I think back to some of the marketing I did, years ago, before I really started understanding and really learning about marketing, and I think a lot of investors will make the same mistake, as they talk about themselves a lot, as opposed to talking about. I just saw a comment that they're making fun of how I say about.
About here, I'll keep you company.
Yeah. Instead of talking in relation to what it is your client is looking for.
Yeah, the old "what's in it for me," right?
Exactly. So when you're putting together your proposal to attract some money, what are maybe three of the main components of your proposal that you focus on, and how detailed is the information that you get into when you first send it out to the individuals? Is it really detailed? Is it just sort of, are you just focusing on 1, 2, 3 main things? What is it about your target market that to focus on when you're sending out your the first proposal or the first piece of information when it comes to a deal?
Well, basically what I do, John, is I promote, if we've got a specific deal on the go, we'll promote a webinar about that deal to a very relatively small group of people, and that's our list of prospective investors. So they're people that have raised their hand in the past and said, yes, I'm interested in potentially investing with you guys. Let me know when you've got something on the go. So right. I don't create a whole presentation and send it to them cold.
Yep.
because I don't think that's very effective. So I'd rather get people on a webinar or something like this and go through a well-structured PowerPoint presentation showing a variety of different things. So you asked what the top three would be. Well, first one they really want to know is how, what is it? So what kind of property is it? What's the market that it's in? So just basic information about the size of the deal, the market that it's in, obviously the price point, what the minimum investment is. And then, of course, you got to think about what's in it for them. So they want to know what is the projected return on my investment and what's the time frame that it's going to take. So is this a short-term deal, a medium-term deal, so 3 to 5 years, or is it a long-term deal of 5 to 10, 15 years or longer? So those are the main components. Now, circling back a little bit, there's a bit of a balance that you have to strike between just focusing on what the deal is, as well as really making that connection personally with your prospective investors, because somebody very, very smart once said that your investors are really investing in you, and the property is the collateral, right? So that was one of the big ahas that I learned early on when I was starting to work with investor partners, and it ties back to how much detail do you give. Once they know, like, and trust you, and they believe that you know what you're doing and that you've got credibility and you're an expert in that particular field of, in this case, real estate investing, then the details of the deal aren't all that important to them. Now, they want to have a general idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
But my experience has been the vast majority of them really don't care that much about the minutia. And if you start getting too detailed, too complicated, their eyes glaze over, they get confused, and then a confused mind says no, right? So keep it simple.
Yeah, the more details I find, you basically overwhelm the individuals. So, and just like you said, if you confuse somebody, they're not going to make a decision, or the decision's going to be no, because they just don't understand it.
Exactly.
So, definitely, webinars is a great way to do that. And I agree, people do business with people. So getting them to know you, like you, and trust you is very important. It's all about accelerating your authority, which is obviously the main theme around the entire show. But there's a question here, Dave. I just wanted to reach out to you. Pierre-Paul Turgeon wants to know, his one question for Dave. When attracting funds, how do you make sure not to get in trouble with the Securities Commission in your jurisdiction? Very
good question. So I think we're going to be touching on this a little later on in the conversation, but what I really suggest that people focus on are other folks who are already in their sphere of influence. So depending on where you are, in Canada, each province has its own security commission. There's not really one unified governing body, but it's all fairly similar. In the States, from what I understand, it's similar as well. So you've got these securities commissions that their job is to protect the little guy, and it makes sense. So we've got choices. If we're going to be working with strangers, then we have to really focus on working with accredited investors, so rich folks. On the other hand, if we focus on our sphere of influence, people that we already have a pre-existing relationship with, so friends, family, co-workers, if you've been in business for yourself, it can be current or past customers, then if you've got a pre-existing relationship with these folks, then it's a lot safer to be promoting your investment opportunities to them than putting it out to the general public. So unless you want to jump through all the hoops and start doing offering memorandums and that sort of thing, or just working with accredited investors, the best thing to focus on is your sphere of influence.
So in saying that, Dave, when you're doing your webinars, what are some things you're very cautious about either not promising or not saying during your webinar that could get you in trouble with securities?
Well, first of all, I don't promote my webinars to the general public, right? So the people that I'm inviting to the webinar are people that I already have a pre-existing relationship with. So I'm not as concerned about that. However, just good rule of thumb is you can't in any good conscience promise specific returns.
Right.
So you can't promise that, this property is going to appreciate at 4% a year over the next 4 years, and you're going to be getting this kind of return. What you can do is you can show people what the anticipated returns are, and what I've found is that it's always better to underpromise. So if you're looking at things and the best case scenario is up here and the worst case scenario is down here, then go for something in the middle. So my goal is ideally to over deliver, so that my investors are getting a better return than they originally anticipated.
Excellent. I know a few people have some things in the works. I'm not sure how far it's gotten yet, but do you have any insight to crowdfunding yet?
I don't have any direct experience with it. I really don't understand it. I get the concept.
Yeah.
I think what my gut says is that it would be an absolute nightmare.
Well, a friend of mine in Calgary, Dave Malott, was last year, 2 years ago, he had started down this path and he was dealing with Securities Commission. Now, I never did follow up with Dave over the last year or so to see how far he actually got, but he was working with lawyers and the commissions to try to put something like this together. I don't know if it ever came to fruition or not. I'll reach out to Dave and see if I can get some inside information as far as how far he got down that path. But I really don't have any more insight as to how it's being done. I did see a commercial. It's in Europe that they're promoting some stuff in Europe that seemed pretty cool that you wouldn't be able to promote here. For £50 you can be part of a real estate investment fund. They're actually commercials on TV, which seemed kind of interesting. But as far as
I think my biggest concern about it would be when it comes to doing a deal, I'd rather have, so for example, a single family home.
Yeah.
I would rather have one investor, one deal. With a multifamily property, typically you're going to have more than one investor, but the fewer the investors, the better.
Yeah, that's my philosophy too.
If I'm raising, whatever, say it's a single family home and you need to raise, let's say, $85,000. Well, if you do it through crowdfunding, you get 85 people putting $1,000 in. Well, now you got 85 people that you got to deal with. And my gut tells me that for a lot of these people, $1,000 is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
So $1,000 to them represents perhaps more money than $100,000 represents to a larger investor of mine. So I don't want the hassles of having to babysit numerous relatively broke investors. I'd rather work with folks who have money. In fact, the people that invest with me, I turn people away basically if what they want to invest with me is all their money.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in that position. I want them to be able to invest with me comfortably, and they don't have all their eggs in one basket. If the worst case scenario happens and something goes wrong with the investment, it's not going to sink them. That's often a bit of a tangent there. But
So Sam indicates that lawyers he's talked to says it's going to be a nightmare as well. And I just want to welcome Russell Westcott to the show.
Hey, Russell.
So Dave, you've been an investor for a long time. What do you consider to be the number one biggest mistake that other investors make when it comes to looking for money or raising capital for their investor projects?
They don't do it.
They don't ask?
They get stuck. So I think the number one challenge most real estate investors have in the States and in Canada is they get 2 or 3 deals under their belt, they self-finance, and then they stop because they run out of money and or credit to do more deals. And the picking up the telephone to call people to raise money is just a daunting task that they don't want to do. So they stop and they get stuck. That to me is the biggest challenge. They don't even try, or they make a little half-hearted attempt at it.
Yeah.
They get turned down and they shut it right down. So
the ones that actually do try, and they're out there actively trying to raise capital, what would you say their biggest mistake is in their either approach or the way that they're doing it?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question, John. Have you ever been at a network? Well, yeah, I know you have. A networking event, and you seen that guy or gal who's the how many business cards can I hand out and how many business cards can I collect person? Like,
yes.
Hi, my name's Dave. What's your name? Here's my card. Have you got a card? You know, and then off to the next person. It's just hit and run. Have you seen those kind of people? Has anybody else been that person? I'm ashamed to say I was that person.
No, I'm too introverted to be that person.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't good at it, but I was trying to be that person. Anyhow, it just sucks because bottom line is they never follow up, and if they do, it's way down the road, and you don't remember who the hell they were, and it's a one-shot deal. So, being that schmoozy, salesy kind of person, sometimes we hear the advice: turn every conversation into a real estate conversation. Well, I think that's BS because that's not natural. Another big mistake I see people have is having and I used to do this, have this, and teach this, having a 30-second commercial.
Yeah.
So what's the challenge with a 30-second commercial? Or an elevator pitch? That's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like a pitch, right? So, just being that creepy, weird person that people end up not wanting to hang around with because you make them feel uncomfortable. So that's a challenge I see some folks doing, especially at the get-go. They're just too over the top.
Yeah,
they're just too salesy.
Yeah, they haven't learned to tone it down and to read the actual conversation. They're on a mission, and that mission is to get as many cards as possible, tell as many people as they can what they do and who they help, and just blow through the entire networking event. So Dave, can you share with us maybe 5 tips right now that an investor can take action from this episode to help make their capital raising experiences a lot easier?
Well, you're not asking for much, are you there, John? 5 tips. It's not 1 or 2 tips. It's 5 tips.
Well, I kind of know you did a webinar and there was 5 steps.
5. I've got what I call my 5 steps to attracting money partners or investor partners. So, and you're going to put me on the spot and maybe remember them all in order. Well, the first step is to basically create a list, so a prospective investor contact list. And what I always recommend to people, and this is actually taking a page out of the network marketing field, and that is to come up with a list of 200 to 300 people that you have a pre-existing relationship with. So, like I said, friends and family, co-workers, anybody that you know and who knows you and that you have a pre-existing positive relationship with, right? So the criteria would be if you bumped into each other on the street, you'd recognize each other and hopefully remember their name and you've got some sort of a connection. Out of that list, so for the general 200 to 300 list, you want to be communicating with them, and we'll talk about marketing in a sec, through emails and online type marketing.
Yeah.
Out of that list, I think you should create a subgroup of what I call your top 50. And those folks are the ones that are most likely in your mind to either have the money or the connections to people who do have money, so that they're the low-hanging fruit. These are the ones that you think are the most likely to invest with you. And then I suggest that you have full contact information with them and you reach out to them, not just through online marketing, but also through offline marketing. So first step is create that list. And when I say to people 200 to 300, they always get a panic-stricken look in their face. Mm-hmm. But actually, if you just download all your contacts off your telephone, chances are that'll be fairly easy.
Yeah.
So the next step is, now that you know who you're going to be going after, the next step is you have to get the word out, which is all about marketing, which is what you and I are really passionate about. So all sorts of things that you can do that way. I find that video is very, very effective. That's probably been the number one thing that I've done over the years consistently that's paid off the biggest dividend. So again, hats off to you for doing these shows on such a regular and consistent basis because there's a hell of a lot of work involved with that. So video is very good. Regular, what I call the 3 C's of marketing. So constant and consistent communication. So e-zines, once a month, same time every month, an e-zine should be coming out. If you're sending out newsletters, hard copy newsletters to your top 50, you can be sending out actual seasonal greetings. You can be doing blogs, you can be doing video logs, you can be doing webinars. There's all sorts of different ways for you to get the word out. And the bottom line is, I think that you should be, quote unquote, touching your contact list approximately once a week, but in different ways. So it's not always the same thing. So that's step number 2. It's getting the word out. Step number 3 is you definitely want to look the part and project the part of a professional real estate entrepreneur. So that means dressing appropriately, especially if you're meeting people to talk about investing with you. That means speaking knowledgeably about your market, your particular real estate investing strategy, what your program's all about. That means having good-looking materials, so basic things like business cards. And I can't tell you how many times either a real estate investor doesn't have a card at all, or just has a really crappy-looking one that was pretty obviously just printed up on their inkjet printer at home. So when you're trying to get somebody to invest $50, $75, $100, $150,000 with you, that's not the time to cheap out on materials, right? Does it make sense? So it's that projecting that professional image. A website is huge. Even if you're promoting yourself to people who already know you, if you don't have a website, how seriously are people going to take you, right? So it's very, very important that you have a website as well. The 4th thing is, in my opinion, to have a very well-structured presentation. So some folks say, all you should do is have a yellow legal pad and a pen and just kind of jot things out for folks and explain it that way. I think that's a really big mistake for most people, for most real estate investors. And the reason is that if you just wing it like that, you're going to be forgetting some of the key points to your presentation. You're going to be forgetting some of the key questions you should be asking your prospective investor. And it's just not a professional image that you're putting out there, and it's not very interesting for the other person to be looking at. So you should have an attractive, well-structured PowerPoint presentation. So that'd be step number 4.
Yeah.
And step number 5 is, once you've got a few investors up and going, then the easiest investors you're ever going to get are people that they refer to you. Because as we know, birds of a feather flock together. And if you're working with a person who's investing with you and they've got a certain socioeconomic status, chances are they hang around with other people of a similar ilk. So if they're happy with what you're doing with them, chances are you can get referrals to some of their friends and family and get more investors that way. So those are the 5 steps.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Dave. And Sam wants to know, how many people do I need to approach to get an investment partner? So, and then what's the rule of thumb? And when should I give up asking people? Well, I'll answer that first. Well, Sam, you should never give up asking people. What you need to do is take every meeting that you have, every experience, and learn from it, and then readjust your strategy, readjust your presentation, readjust for the next person, and then learn from that. So I don't know if there's a rule of thumb as to say that you're going to get 1 in 10. Dave may have a better answer, but you never want to give up. It's consistent persistence, and it's constantly working on your presentation, your craft, and the message that you're going to present to the people that you're talking to. It's very important that you understand who is your ideal target market, their pains, fears, frustrations, and their ambitions. And getting a clear picture of that is really going to help you when you're speaking to potential investors as to what words you should use and how you should frame your solution to address whatever their pains, fears, frustrations, or ambitions, and really trying to overcome their objections before they even have a chance to object for any specific reason. So that's my answer. Dave, what do you have to say?
I already forgot the question, buddy.
The question was, how many people should they approach to get an investment partner? What's the rule of thumb? And when should they give up?
All right. So how many people to approach? Yeah, I don't really know what the number is. Again, my strategy is a little bit different. I'm all about creating this contact list, 200 to 300 people, getting the word out, and then my whole goal is to get them to contact me.
Right.
So I'm marketing to them, and then I'm getting them to put up their hand and say, "Yeah, Dave, I'm interested. Tell me more."
Mm-hmm.
Typically, when you work it that way, your success rate is much higher.
Yes.
So they've already pre-qualified themselves. They've already told you that they're interested. When do you give up? Basically, I don't give up because I don't push myself on anybody. If I get them off the list when they opt out. So if they don't want to hear from me anymore, that's cool. I'm not gonna pressure them. And in fact, it's very easy for them just to click a button and poof, off they're gone. And so what? Somebody else is next. Somebody else is coming. So it's a different mind. My thought about it is it's a different mindset about the whole thing. I'd rather have them chasing me than me chasing them. And now to give Sam credit, I know Sam personally. He's a very astute and successful real estate entrepreneur here in Kamloops. He's a full-time real estate entrepreneur, and he's raised a lot of money from a lot of people already. So, Sam, you already know what the hell you're doing.
I'm completely in line with you, Dave. As mentioned, I'm an introvert, so I built my entire real estate investing business having people come to me versus me going to them. So they come to me because they have a problem and they know that I have a solution that can fix it. Do I get every single one? No. But people are coming to me, and it's very much the same thing. I attract them as opposed to cold calling or running out and trying to find somebody.
And another good thing about doing it that way, I think, John, is a little bit of takeaway selling too. So when I'm doing a presentation, I get what's called an upfront agreement from people, and the worst answer you can ever get is maybe.
Yeah.
So I tell them right up front, hey, at the end of the presentation, one or two things is going to happen. Either A, you see this is something that you're interested in, you're going to want to move to the next step, which isn't necessarily writing a check right away, but you're interested in moving forward, seeing what's next. Or you see this isn't a good fit for you, in which case you're not going to want to do it. Is it okay if you either say yes or no at the end of the presentation? Can I get either one of those answers? And I get an upfront agreement from them that they're going to give me a yes or a no. And that just saves so much time and hassle of chasing after people who are just basically, especially Canadians, they're too damn polite to say no.
Yeah.
We don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. So if you give them permission to say no to you, it takes all that pressure off. Plus, nobody else does that. So it really makes you stand out. And the other thing is you just, if you're marketing yourself properly, then you should be getting to the stage where you've got more investors chasing after you than you have deals to provide. So it's kind of a first come, first serve scenario.
Excellent. One last question, Dave, from Jason P. Jordan. What should I look for in a real estate partner?
Are you talking about a money partner, or is that?
Actually, I know Jason's situation. Jason lived in Germany. He's from the U.S. He lived in Germany. He just moved to Italy because of his wife's work, and he has a really good friend and a real estate investor where he's from in the U.S., and he's thinking about entering into some kind of a partnership. I think Jason might be the money partner. Okay. Not 100% for sure. So from the money partner perspective, what should he look for in joining forces with a real estate investor?
That's easy. It's integrity. You want to work with somebody who does what they say they're going to do, who doesn't just paint a rosy picture about the sunny side of things, that they also show you what the potential downfalls are. Communication is huge. So when things go wrong, not if things go wrong, but when things go awry, because John, you know this, every real estate deal does not go 100% smoothly all the time.
Yeah.
So when there are challenges, your partner communicates those with you and keeps you in the loop, whether things are going well or whether things are going poorly. They communicate with you. So I think that's very, very important. And ideally, obviously, a track record would be good too.
Yeah, exactly. And so one more question, Dave. Brad Witherspoon wants to know: Is there trouble with Securities Commission if you show examples or rough numbers of existing opportunities on a website?
I don't know. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant.
Exactly.
I'm not a securities guy. And I've heard all sorts of different things. So where I've heard through the grapevine that people have had the biggest challenges is if they're saying anything like a guaranteed return on investment, or they're talking about specific numbers, specific percentages, that sort of thing. That's where you could potentially get into more trouble. So you want to definitely avoid that. And again, that's why my preference is it's kind of the opposite of what we want to do typically with marketing. Typically with marketing, we want to get the word out as much as possible.
Yeah.
In my opinion, with this, I want to get the word out as much as possible to those 200 or 300 people that I've got on my list. The rest of the world, I don't want them necessarily finding my website. I'm not doing SEO to get my website to rank really high. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to use it as a hub and promote it to my target market.
So there's other strategies. I mean, to get people onto your list, it's not about promoting the deals. It's about providing them with value, building a relationship with them, doing what you can do, giving them stuff for free without talking about specific deals. And then once you have them in the funnel, once you have built a relationship with them through your email list, then you invite them to your webinars after the fact, because they are part of your network now, because they have engaged with you, they understand you, they're going through their funnel, and if they don't like what you have to say, they just unsubscribe or they don't show up. Yep. But you're still only promoting to the people that are actually on your list. But it's always important to grow your list using other marketing strategies that have nothing to do with pitching deals. It's about attracting people who are interested in real estate investing and giving them stuff for value, and just educating them as to what they should be looking for, moving forward in their real estate investing career.
Right.
Dave, I think that is all actually we're over time. That's all the time we have for today. So I definitely want to thank you for being on the show. It's actually, the hour went so fast. So thanks for talking to us about real estate investing. I know you have some courses coming up. I think there's a couple spots available. So what I'm going to ask Dave what we'll do is we'll actually put, Dave, if you like, I could put a link to your page for your 2-day seminar.
Sure.
If anyone's interested in finding out more about Dave's 2-day seminar, where it's a workshop. He'll actually walk you through what it takes and what to do in order to build your own investor strategy and investor system for raising capital, for finding those investors. Dave will actually walk you through what he's done for himself. And I think, I build everything for myself, and then other people say, oh, that's great. Can you teach me how to do that? And that's exactly what Dave's doing. He built it for himself, very successful. He has a lot of case studies of people that he's worked with, brand new investors to seasoned investors, and it works equally as well for all parties. So, and Dave, again, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. It was a pleasure having you, and I look forward to catching up with you as soon as you get back in Edmonton here in the next couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, John.
All right, and everyone else, just stick around. I'll be back in just a second with closing remarks. Thank you. Well, thanks for joining me on today's John A. McCabe Show, where we work with entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device. Now, also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now, if you're someone who's looking to take your business to the next level and want to get some coaching advice, why not apply to be a guest on today's show? Now, for most entrepreneurs, we want to create a life of our own, create our own path, and do what we can to reach our own desired outcome, which is generally freedom. Freedom to choose what we want to do, when we want to do it, and with whom we want to do it. A life that's full of options and choices, where we worry less about money and more about the quality of time that we spend with others. Now, a great way to make that happen is to leverage other people's knowledge, time, and skill sets. Step one to reaching our freedom life is to realize that you can't do it alone. Working with a coach or being involved in masterminds is a great way for entrepreneurs to move their business forward. Now, a coach can help you shorten the time frame to get you from where you are to where you want to be, while being part of a mastermind is meant to bring entrepreneurs together, all with the goal of helping each other move forward with their business. Now, the second step to creating the life you envision for yourself as an entrepreneur is to implement systems into your business so you can streamline your operations, leverage systems, and free up your time to focus on your family, having fun, and the highest leverage activities in your business. You know, the activities that get you the biggest return on your time invested, the ones that truly make you money. Now, sometimes we just don't know what systems we need, how to implement those systems, or even have the time to find out what is needed. Now, working with a coach or consultant that understands, uses, and specializes in systems that can streamline your operations can help save you time, aggravation, and make you a lot more money. Now, for example, having a system or strategy that allows you to leverage just 15 hours of your time into enough repurposed content to get you seen, get you heard, get you noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device is a great example of leverage. Now, just imagine a system where you invest just 15 hours of your time, and the end result is you're a #1 best-selling author. You have enough content that's going to get you seen, get you heard, get you noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device. You have a successful podcast. Now, it's automatically attracting more attention, giving more value, and generating more leads, which enables you to attract an abundance of paying customers. Now, this is also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now, to find out more about the Authority Acceleration Blueprint, coaching program, or mastermind, then contact me via my website at johnamccabe.com or connect with me through my show's Facebook page. Now, again, thank you for joining us on today's show, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's show when I have another great guest on discussing their business and accelerating their authority. So have yourself an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon.